Hello everyone, Deacon Ed McCormick here, standing on the beautiful grounds of St. John the Baptist Catholic Community. And today I'd like to try and rehabilitate the reputation of perhaps the most misunderstood person in the entire Bible, John the Baptist. We will hear about John the Baptist this Sunday when we read Mark chapter 1, verses 1 to 8, and then we'll hear again about him next Sunday when we read the beginning of John's Gospel. And every Gospel and the Acts of the Apostles believe you cannot begin to talk about Jesus' ministry without talking about John the Baptist. And our Advent liturgy also thinks that he's significant. But he has such a bad reputation. If you watch Franco Zeffirelli's movie, Jesus of Nazareth, John is portrayed as this kind of crazy, angry guy out in the desert, screaming at people, and people think of some crazed person like you'd meet in a New York subway. But that's not how he's portrayed in the New Testament. He's called John the Baptist. That's not his last name, but it's a designation that was given to him. And it's found in the New Testament and in Josephus, a Jewish writer of the same time. It seems to be a unique designation for what this guy was doing. Now remember, his father, Zacchaeus, was a priest who worked in the temple, and so John by birth was a priest and should have served in the temple. And he bypasses that ministry shockingly to go into the desert where everything begins anew for Israel and begins to offer this baptism. A baptism for the repentance of sins. So he's not offering a ritual cleansing, which was quite common in ancient Judaism. He's offering what seems to be a one-time baptism. And it's not like our baptism. Our baptism is the sacramental rite and ritual by which a person becomes a member of our community. It's an entrance rite into the community. No, John is doing something quite different. He and his compatriots, including Jesus and Mary and Paul, all believed that one day God was going to act as God did at the Exodus and free Israel from pagan domination and from evil and suffering and death, and renew Israel, restore God's people, and eventually restore the whole world. And John is convinced that this is about to happen. It is about to happen at any moment. So he's down in the desert, and people are flocking to him. They're not afraid of him. They're not disturbed by him. They are flocking to him because they too believe it's the 11th hour. And when he offers this baptism of repentance, he's offering them a chance to turn back to God. That's what repentance means. The word in Greek is metanoia. It means to turn your life back to God. And so he is inviting people to this national repentance and national forgiveness, because the prophets make clear that when God acts to restore Israel, there will be a judgment and renewal. And so I want to suggest to you that John is not crazy. He's not angry. He is actually a man of mercy, because he is inviting his compatriots, the people of Israel, to turn back to God before God's judgment comes. He's inviting them to turn back so that they can participate in the national renewal that is about to happen. And as we dive into Advent, we too are invited to once again turn back to God, to turn back our lives to God and to God's mercy and love, to make God and God's mission in Jesus the focus of our lives, and then we too will experience renewal.